Yeah, Integralmath. I've watched that video you did about Tfoot saying something stupid about Britain changed its gun laws and didn't. It wasn't a prelude to dictatorship in the United Kingdom. Then you went on to talk about, the Charles II. Right? Charles II, who ended up getting his head chopped off, I believe. You talked about the American Civil War. You talked about Hitler, and I'm sorry, but that's got nothing to do with the gun debate at the moment in America. They're not talking about taking guns away. They're talking about considerate understanding of which should be allowed to be, under the Second Amendment, to be your right to bear arms. They're not saying you can't have guns. What they're saying is there should be a reasonable amount of checks and balances to find out who can possess a gun. And don't get me wrong, we're still allowed to have guns in the UK. People can get a licence to have a shotgun, a hunting rifle, they can even go target practice. But there's legislation that you can't take the gun home in Britain. You've got to keep it at the shooting range and keep it locked up there. You know what I mean? You can't just walk into like a toy store and there's a gun rack at the end for parents to buy kiddies' toys and then buy your guns and your bullets, We separate that sort of thing into individual, you go to a gun shop, In America, I would say, yeah, ban fucking gun shows. I wouldn't just say, you can have gun shows and you can go in and buy a gun without a check. I would just say ban gun shows. Force people like your alcohol laws in some states, you can only buy them in state fucking alcohol shops, Well, I would do that with guns. But I would limit the guns you can buy. You shouldn't be able to buy any AR-15. You shouldn't be able to buy a fucking 30 or 100 fucking bullet fucking magazine, I think that's fucking reasonable and rational. I don't think that the comments you've made about the fucking 1600s or the 1800s or fucking 1940s and the 20th century, we're not talking about taking guns away from people. People will still be allowed to have the guns that they've always been allowed to have. All we're saying is that you've banned machine guns. There was a ban on assault rifles, semi-automatics. It worked. It's worked in Australia. It's worked in Britain. I'm not saying that you have got to definitely go down that road, but I think it's something you should fucking consider for the fucking safety of yourself and other people in your nation. It doesn't seem to me that it's going to fall into a totalitarian regime that's going to take all your guns away from you. And it's stupid to even state that that's possible. In a present day, I just can't see in a nation the size of America that the government would even attempt to say that everybody's got to hand their guns in and nobody can have guns except the police force and the army. It's just never going to happen. But I do think you should have legislation on the most dangerous guns in your society, the ones that cause the most damage. That is illegal guns, semi-automatics, large magazines, and the ability for people to buy a gun without any kind of background check on them to see whether they're the sort of person you would like to have a gun in your country. And the Second Amendment, I think it also mentions in there not just the fact that citizens should have the rights to bear arms. I think that also mentions something about people taking up arms against the state. I think that's mentioned in the Second Amendment, isn't it? I think it's still mentioned in there that, if you take up arms against your own government, you're a traitor and you can be arrested. And I don't see that that's something that should be not mentioned when you're talking about the Second Amendment. I think that's also part of it. And yet the NRA and people up here, that's what they're talking about. They want the public to be armed in order to take up arms against their own government. Even though it's not a tyrannical government, it just so happens you've got a black guy as president. And it's only really since Obama got into power that this craziness in America has really been so fucking talked about. I mean, gun sales shot through the roof when Obama got elected for the second time. You don't think that's got something to do with it? That it is the sort of people who would take up arms against their own government for their own fucking reasons, which is basically race. It's fucking race that's causing it. But if you think it's fine to have these laws in place for fucking idiots, to demand the right to have any kind of weapon they want, so that they might have to fight their own government, well then, yeah, let's just let them have fucking rocket launchers, and, you know, ground-to-air missiles, tanks, for fuck's sake, you know, bazookas, you know, why not? Because that's the sort of weapons they're going to have if they want to take on the American government. Maybe even a nuclear bomb or two. What do you think about that? You know, do you think that should, you know, just deregulate the whole fucking arms industry so that any American, with whatever money they've got, the Koch brothers, for instance, can set up their own little private army with fucking a silo with a missile in it? Because that's really what you're saying, that there should be no regulation. No regulation whatsoever in America, that people should just be able to buy what they need for their own private, ludicrous, mad fucking thoughts that they might have to fucking defend themselves against the American army. Because they're going to come and take their guns. Nobody's talking about taking your guns. They're not even going to take the AR-15s that have already been sold. They're just saying that they want to stop the continued sales of them and the import of AK-47s and shit like that. And now you've got people making plastic fucking guns, man. Guns that can go through any fucking metal detector. Is that okay to have that? Should that be allowed? I mean, Ronald Reagan was the fucker that passed that, no plastic guns in America. He passed that into law. You know, it beggars belief what you're saying here, and don't get me wrong, I don't support Thunderfoot. I think Thunderfoot's a complete twat. And I think what he was saying there, comparing the restriction of guns in Britain and Australia maybe to America. All he's saying, and all I'm saying though is, well, it works in our country. We do have more draconian gun laws than you, but we haven't taken everybody's guns off them. We still have shootings in this country by people who are illegally owning the shotgun or the rifle they've used. But it's far less than you have in America. And I just think America might want to take a little look at that and see if maybe they can reduce the amount of unnecessary gun violence and gun deaths that you have. We're not saying ban guns. We're just saying take a rational look at it and consider whether or not maybe you have too many guns and too many hands that shouldn't have them. And perhaps there's an obvious step you could take to reduce that. We're not saying fucking take everybody's guns away. So the cases you've put forward about, you know, all tyrannies started off by taking everybody's guns. Well, we're not saying take everybody's guns. So please stop putting words in our mouths, you know, and try and listen to the conversation we're trying to have with you, you know. You're a fucking modern nation with the highest death rate of its own citizens against its own citizens, with weapons that perhaps some of them shouldn't have. And if you can't start the conversation there with us, and all you're trying to do is just demagogue us, you know, then you've really not got anything to say about it. You might as well just join the NRA and, you know, support fucking LaPierre and these cohorts and go waving the flag and calling Obama the, you know, the fake president who's wanting to take our guns away from us because he's a socialist, fascist, Nazi, communist, you know, guy from Nigeria or some fucking thing. I mean, that's really all they've got to say about it, and basically you're supporting their side when you say that these things are stupid and should be talked about, and it leads to tyranny. Oh, my God. Anyway, Integral, I wish when I clicked on your video, I thought you were going to be showing a video, or at least talking about a video where Thunderfoot said something really totally stupid. I don't think he put it in the best phrases. I don't think he maybe thought much about what he was saying. He was just butting in on some topic. I've never liked Thunderfoot anyway. You know, he should have stuck to his science and his astronomy sort of videos. That would have been great, you know. But you know, I don't see your video about what he said that's stupid being any more sensible, mate. That's just the way I see things, you know what I mean? I hope you take it in the proper way that I meant it, and don't take me out of context and start talking about wars and the changes from 1600s to the 20th century, because we're talking about today. You know what I mean? Talking about today, what could be done today to lessen the gun deaths. We're not talking about removing guns from your society. That's never been the point, neither of what I've been saying, nor what your politicians who are trying to get, you know, gun checks and maybe bans on extended magazines passed. They're not trying to remove all guns from American society. They're not trying to destroy your gun culture. They're just trying to make it safer to live in America with that gun culture. Cheers, Sanjiva.